Oh, you've got YouTube on there.
You know how much he likes to watch.
Before you leave, I just want to thank you for giving this video such a great thumbnail.
Oh, how generous of you. Wait. Should I be offended?
I'm just doing what I have to get new viewers and subscribers.
And that absolves you of any responsibility?
No, but at least the content itself is honest and well made.
Talk to God, I'm not interested in your confession.
Wait, this isn't a confession. This is movie night. Hello and welcome to Movie Night, in-depth film reviews in less than 5 minutes. I'm your host, Jonathan Paula. This episode will be a bit different than usual. Instead of focusing on a specific theme like time travel or box office bombs, tonight's reviews are merely a random collection of movies I watched in the last year. Speaking of which, I encourage you to follow me on Letterboxd if you'd like to check out a full history of every movie I've ever seen, and get an early glimpse at my reviews and ratings. Sometimes I'll take notes and write short reviews for movies, even if I have no intention of including them here on the show. These 5 movies may not have anything in common, but they're a product of those aimless efforts, and are worth sharing just the same. So let's begin with The Russia House. Released on Christmas Day in 1990, this spy film from director Fred Spisak was based on the novel of the same name by John Le Carré. The 123-minute narrative follows an expatriate British book publisher who unexpectedly finds himself working for MI6 to investigate potential Russian threats inside the Soviet Union. The R-rated thriller is one of only 2 American movies to have been filmed on location in Soviet Russia. The other is an early Schwarzenegger picture, Red Heat. As if to brag about this impressive fact, the film utilizes an almost excessive amount of irrelevant establishing shots, constantly showing off the beautiful Russian landscape and architecture. Sean Connery leads the cast with his classic Scottish charm, remarking on his new home, "Yes, I prefer Russia. It's as corrupt as America, but there's less bullshit." The beautiful Michelle Pfeiffer is opposite as a willing Russian ally with a passable accent. Despite their age difference, the romantic scenes they share together are easily the picture's strongest, as Connery attempts to win her affection, much like an awkward teen before prom.
Are you a spy?
No.
Are you alone in this, or were you sent by others?
Answer. I'm alone.
Jesus.
I'm alone, and that's the God's truth. Never been more alone.
Outside of their courtship, however, there's not much here worth investing your time in. Indeed, I fell asleep 5 separate times, a personal record for me, attempting to watch this lethargic story. And that's the picture's death blow. It just isn't interesting. There are some capable performances here from the familiar cast, which includes Klaus Maria Brandauer, Roy Schneider, John Mahoney, and J.T. Walsh, but they're rarely given anything meaningful to say or do. What should be a fascinating story rife with international and political intrigue is instead long-winded and boring. Technically, the production is executed well enough, but the story takes far too many unnecessary detours. It ends with a large reveal, but when it follows a plot devoid of any suspense, the twist lands with a heavy thud and disinterest. With an overbearing volume of stringed instruments, the score from Jerry Goldsmith is perhaps the picture's most memorable aspect, even if it seems more befitting of a low-budget porno than a major Hollywood production. While this Cold War spy caper looks great on paper, The Russia House is a pathetic waste of a decent cast and concept that is a constant bore. I thought it was bad. For tonight's poll question, what's your favorite film most people aren't familiar with? Leave your response in the comments below. Next up, my review of The Joneses. Seeing limited release in April of 2010 before a strong showing on home media, this intriguing drama film from first-time director Derek Bort pulled in a respectable $7 million at the box office. The 96-minute story centers around a seemingly perfect family who moves into a suburban neighborhood and doesn't exactly come clean with their neighbors. A first-act twist, which I won't spoil, sets up the entire plot and unravels into a completely original R-rated story, also written by Bort. Focusing on the struggles of living life behind a lie, David Duchovny leads the small but effective cast with a laid-back charm and effortless sophistication, who is reminded early, if people want you, they'll want what you've got. Alongside him as the matriarch of the house and romantic foil is Demi Moore, who looks as beautiful as ever, which is saying a lot considering her fabulously gorgeous co-star Amber Heard briefly removes her clothes in this picture. Outside of being eye candy though, both women deliver great and subtle performances.
Hey.
Hey.
So, we need to step it up, so I've decided that we're going to throw a party.
Jesus, look at Larry. He's a miserable bastard.
My guess is they sleep in separate bedrooms.
Yeah, I know how that feels.
This is serious, and I'd really like you to focus, okay? I mean, we really need to pull out all the stops. I'd like to put our contact list to good use and start to showcase all we've got.
Although the cause and effects of everyone's actions are unrealistically telegraphed for the quick 93-minute runtime, the film shares an important lesson on social pressures and greed, which is indeed the attempted illustration, as the almost satirical picture borrows its title from the famous idiom, keeping up with the Joneses, which Gary Cole finds out firsthand as the passionless but susceptible neighbor in a very convincing supporting role. The unobtrusive cinematography is especially competent, including all the right close-ups for the film's more emotional moments. One memorable conversation has Duchovny and Moore whimsically flirting entirely with hypothetical what-ifs, as their feelings for each other grow stronger. Nick Urato's score isn't that noticeable, but in a good way. Each scene has the perfectly appropriate music supporting it. The confined, low-stakes plot may not have thrills or excitement, but it remains interesting throughout. This is a refreshingly enjoyable and thought-provoking movie definitely worth seeing at least once. A feature most will likely discover via Netflix instant watch recommendation, this is a true sleeper hit more people should know about. A surprising treat, The Joneses is a stimulating scenario of modern consumerism. And a cool film. Third tonight, my thoughts on the fourth and most recent installment in the Bourne franchise, The Bourne Legacy. Tony Gilroy directs this action spy thriller that was released in August of 2012. Although the titular character does not make an appearance, Matt Damon reportedly chose not to return, the 135-minute story desperately tries to piggyback off the franchise's name recognition. This unnecessary follow-up shamelessly retreads the same ground we've seen before, with a mostly new cast, and a foolishly complicated, over-explained medical experiment backdrop. The PG-13 rated film routinely goes out of its way to attempt to incorporate itself around the events of the original trilogy, resulting in a sloppy, convoluted story. Rather than a prequel or a sequel, I believe this parallel setup is known as a sidequel, but that sounds stupid, so let's never say it again. Jeremy Renner and Rachel Weisz are perfectly capable in their respective roles, but the comparisons to their predecessors is unavoidable, and they sadly don't match up. The familiar narrative has Renner unraveling the mystery of his origin, remarking to a potential lead, "What I'm gonna do is wait for the next person to show up to kill you. Maybe they can help me." Edward Norton, however, is a welcome addition as a whip-smart FBI agent tasked with finding them. Some supporting players return, like Scott Glenn, David Strathairn, Joan Allen, and Albert Finney, while newcomers Corey Stoll and Stacy Keach join the group as well. But all of these pursuing officials are entirely interchangeable and completely devoid of personality or backstory. The film also introduces even more continuity issues to a series that seems to ignore time itself. When does Legacy take place? The events very clearly happen during the narrative of the Bourne Supremacy, which came out 8 years prior, yet a subplot revolves around a YouTube video, which couldn't have existed in 2004. With less shaky cam and a sort of in-universe reboot of the story, some elements are cleaner and tighter, plus the action is generally rather exciting. An ambush, then escape from an old house deep in the woods delivers ample tension.
Get up! Jesus! What is this? What the hell is this? No!
Close?
What are you doing? Hey, get off me!
Seth?
Ow! Get the hell
Seth!
off me now! Ow!
Hey!
No!
But the movie runs almost 20 minutes longer than any previous film in the series, resulting in a much slower and drawn-out experience. As a standalone spy caper, this is definitely above average material, but as a Bourne picture, it is easily the weakest. The decision to incorporate these players into an existing universe with very little crossover besides a photograph or a wood carving hurts the movie immensely. It's nothing but a constant reminder that a better version of the film you're watching already exists. The Bourne Legacy is a pointless follow-up with diverting excitement. Here now are some of your reviews. Although we all enjoyed this picture, everyone agreed it wasn't on par with its predecessors. We rated it a 6 out of 10. Fourth tonight, Blue Ruin. Funded through a successful Kickstarter campaign, this independent American thriller was a prize winner at the Cannes Film Festival in May of 2013, and later released on home video and in theaters in April of the following year. Jeremy Saulnier directs the $1 million picture, which follows Mackin Blair as a disheveled beach vagrant who decides to take revenge against his parents' killer, recently released from prison. This is not your typical hero, but he carries the bulk of the runtime with ease, often with only a whisper or an anguished glance. As he tracks down the criminal's violent family, he gets some help from his sister and an old high school friend, played by Amy Hargraves and Home Alone's Devin Ratray, respectively. And while all three of these main characters do a great job with the uncomfortably realistic situations, there are huge passages of this picture without any dialogue at all. Indeed, the 90-minute experience is a very slow and deliberate burn, following the decisions and consequences of an imperfect crime. Just before Blair must decide to go through with his vengeful plot, we see him cower and begin to cry, afraid of the path he's about to embark on. It's a quiet and powerful moment that sets the R-rated story into motion. Moments later, when confronted by an innocent witness who asks if he attacked someone, Blair can only muster a soft reply, "Yeah, he hurt my parents." Saulnier's directorial style is ever present, staying out of the way of the action but always at eye level with the characters. The low-key and seldom used music from Brooke and Will Blair hangs beneath the dramatic scenes with an unsettling tone. While I can't say I have any personal experience with this homicidal narrative, the story definitely makes you reflect on what your own decisions and mistakes might be in a situation like this. The protagonist is just a regular guy on a mission, encountering dozens of obstacles he never considered. A fantastic example of the potential of crowdfunding, and a truly unique, independent gem. This is a methodical, almost psychological look at what truly drives us when we're at our worst. And here's what you had to say about it in the YouTube comments. Opinions were mixed on Blue Ruin. Despite its slower style, you liked the revenge angle and rated it a 7. An intriguing picture worth watching at least once. I thought it was a great movie myself. Last tonight, my thoughts on Everly. Released digitally on January 23, 2015, this 92-minute action feature is fast, dumb, violent pulp. The R-rated narrative is entirely contained within a single apartment building, as leading lady Salma Hayek fights off wave after wave of assassins sent to kill her by an evil mob boss. A bloody and graphic experience, there is little character development or emotional resonance to this picture. In fact, the only thing that has any depth is Hayek's voluptuous curves. The 45-year-old is in the best shape of her life, making it basically impossible not to stare at her gorgeous body and ample cleavage for the entire film. Although I suspect that was director Joe Lynch's point. Why else does he dress her in tight yoga pants and a push-up bra for half the movie? Supporting players pop in and out of the story, sometimes literally, but this Kill Bill-inspired flick remains Salma's one-woman show, for better or worse. Luckily, she kicks plenty of ass to keep things explosive and fun, like when she tosses a live grenade into an elevator full of bad guys, just as the doors close in on their impending death, sending a narrow column of blood squirting out the middle. There's some legitimate suspense here as well, when an evil Asian medicine man threatens to drip a vial of acid on an ally's eyes, unless Salma surrenders. Almost self-aware of its ridiculousness, this is a video download you can't go wrong with. It's quick, brainless entertainment for fans of bullets, tits, and blood. And really, who isn't?
You.
There's not much else to say, honestly. This movie delivers exactly what you expect, and for that reason, I thought Everly was pretty alright. Finally tonight, a look at some of your tweet critiques. If you see a new movie in theaters, tweet your review with the JPMN hashtag. Next week we'll be reviewing 3 new releases: Focus, Chappie, and Insurgent. If you've seen these movies, share your opinions by voting in the polls below or by leaving a comment review. I read them all and will include my favorites in the next episode. If you'd like to watch more Movie Night videos, check out the related reviews on the right or click subscribe to be notified of all future uploads. Also, be sure to follow me on social media, especially Letterboxd, for updates and exclusive content between episodes. Once again, my name is Jonathan Paula. Thank you for watching and listening. Until next time, have a good movie night.